During the conference call, even though the chairman Yang Liu reduced his sales outlook for 2025, but as you say, very significant to significant, but he also mentions that the shipments will remain the same, which means that the down revision of the sales outlook is mostly due to currency issues. Currency is actually the biggest concern, not only for Hon Hai, but for the rest of the Taiwan tech companies, because the NT dollar appreciation, just a few weeks ago, it was 33 NT dollars to $1 US. Now it's about 30, even below $30 to $1. So looking for about $3 appreciation or almost 10%. So that currency result has a lot of impact on Hon Hai and rest of tech world. That's why I think what Yang Liu was mentioning, mostly because currency is out of company control. Even though the company also said on the conference call that Hon Hai has natural hedge, which means the revenue and the costs are mostly in US dollars. But the problem is that what Hon Hai report is P&L income statements is the NT dollar currency, which is why Hon Hai reduces outlook from sales perspective. But having said that, as you mentioned, 1Q result was very strong. 2Q guidance was also very strong. AI is the main driver for Hon Hai, up 50% year-on-year for 1Q. It's going to double in 2Q of this year. So looking for AI servers to remain the driver for the company. But the biggest concern, as you know, is the currency, also Donald Trump tariff situation, because Hon Hai makes product all over the world, from China, India, Vietnam. So I would say that good results and the cautious guidance, but going forward, looking for currency, also tariff situation to look the price, share price interaction.
Kirk, I want to talk a little bit more about the currency here, the Taiwan dollar. We've heard from TSMC and the impact of the move on the currency and what it would do to its margins. What kind of impact would we see on further appreciation of the Taiwan dollar on Hon Hai?
Sure, that's a very good question. During the conference call, the CFO mentions that for every $1 of NT dollar appreciation, we're going to see 3% of sales decline and 0.1% of margin decline. So as you can see, currency is a big issue for Hon Hai. Obviously, Hon Hai can try to hedge the currency. Hon Hai also said it's going to review the pricing to its customers more frequently to reflect the currency fluctuation. But having said that, appreciation of NT dollar is a big negative for Hon Hai. I think that's one reason you see Hon Hai share price weakness today. Besides profit taking, the currency outlook or the sales outlook for this year is a concern for Hon Hai.
And it's clear it's about AI dominance. For Hon Hai, Yang Liu says that he can sum up a Q1 with just that word, artificial intelligence. Give us your outlook for this industry, given all that's happening with the chip space, with all the developments in Saudi Arabia, with NVIDIA, all these orders that, of course, Hon Hai wants to ride on the back of as well.
Emily, that's actually a very good point about Saudi Arabia. As you know, Donald Trump's there with many tech companies, including NVIDIA. When NVIDIA gets a big order, a lot of them go to Hon Hai. Hon Hai accounts for about 2/3 of NVIDIA business, up from 40%. So everything NVIDIA does, Hon Hai will get a share of that. So that's a big plus. Also, that if you look at the CapEx for the biggest 4 AI server customers in the world, namely Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta, all 4 companies has maintained their CapEx guidance for this year. The concern before is that the company could cut the guidance for CapEx, but having maintained the guidance for the AI server CapEx, we expect to see very strong AI server outlook for the rest of the year. Into 2Q, previous concerns, the GB200, or so-called the Blackwell server, has some EO issues. But during the conference call, Yang Liu, he said AI, they are in full production, volume production of the NVIDIA Blackwell servers. So I would say that I look for very strong AI server business for Hon Hai, for the rest of the industry, and that's going to drive Hon Hai share price.
Do you have any visibility? We're, of course, hearing about the GB300 that came through at the GTC from NVIDIA just last month. When is that expected to hit the market?
That should happen for the second half this year. Next week, as you know, is a Computex in Taiwan. Next week, Computex is the biggest IT event in Taiwan, also Asia. So we expect to see more news for GB300 next week. Jason Huang of NVIDIA will give a keynote speech next year. So we expect to see more colors next week. But I would say in the near couple quarters, GB200 will be the main products. Going to second half this year, you're going to gradually see GB300. But then that Blackwell will be the main driver for Hon Hai and for NVIDIA.
I'm going to be asking you about that Gensanity in just a minute, but I want to talk about NVIDIA and the manufacturing in the United States. They're saying that they're going to be mass producing AI supercomputers in Texas, so entirely in the United States. Hon Hai wants to be a part of that. So what visibility do you have on this participation?
Sure. If you look at all the AI server company in the world, manufacturers such as Quanta, Wistron, or Hon Hai probably has the best global footprint out of all the competitors. It already has location in Wisconsin, and now it's already making some servers. Hon Hai has a large facility in Mexico, so Hon Hai to move some of them into Texas should be pretty easy. So Hon Hai has been in the U.S. for many years and is known about U.S. labor, unions, and the workforce and all the regulations. So I'm pretty confident, given Hon Hai's experience and background, it can easily replicate a lot of manufacturing into U.S., especially back to tariff issues. By making it in the U.S., I think Hon Hai can avoid a lot of tariffs. So I was looking into second half this year, you're going to see more production into Texas. But even before that, Wisconsin is already shipping some servers, in addition to some in Mexico. So I look for Hon Hai to pretty quickly move more production into Texas and rest of the U.S.
And now back to Jensen Huang. He's been very busy. He was in Saudi Arabia with President Trump, meeting, of course, the government officials there. And he's headed for Taipei, where you are very, very shortly expecting to be holding the very iconic stakeholder dinner on May the 17th as the island prepares for Gensanity. And you talked about Computex a little bit earlier. In terms of the expectations, so it's going to be about the GB300. I also hear it's going to be humanoid robots. Anything else, AI PCs that we should be looking out for this year?
Sure. AI PC, robots, GB300, etc. Those are very good products to look for. But I would say besides new products, the most important thing for Computex is to get a feel for the second half demand. Because Computex, many buyers going to place orders for back to school season, Thanksgiving and Christmas. The previous reporter on your show mentions that back to school season from China, because if you look at tech demand, second half account for more than 60, even 70% of the demand. Most of the product need to be acquired and shipped around July into US because it's go by shipment, take about 2 or 3 months. So it's quite important to get some feeling about how buyers and customers feel about back to school season. Same thing with iPhone. iPhone, as you know, that the new models come out every September. So right now is the time to start planning for iPhone design and shipments. So I would say Computex next week. You mentioned a very good product, GB300, robot, etc. But I would say besides new product launch, we're going to see more. But the demand outlook, the orders, the Thanksgiving, the Christmas, those are probably the biggest information we're going to gather next week, so we can plan for second half accordingly.
That is an amazing tip. Thank you very much, Kirk. I want to ask you, so Hon Hai wants to do what it does for iPhones to cars, and we got a big announcement last week that it is signed on Mitsubishi. Did that get you excited?
A little bit, but not too much. As you know that Hon Hai has been doing EV business for several years. It is a new business Hon Hai need to do, but for the automotive business, it takes a long time to break into the supply chain. It takes years because different from electronic business like iPhone, you can have new iPhone every year. For car business, the number one issue is not cost, but safety. So beyond safety side, it takes years. But I think Hon Hai is making a good entry into the EV business, especially the Japanese auto business. And you might recall that Hon Hai has this special chief strategy officer, Seto-san, who came from Nissan. So he's pretty into the Japanese automotive supply chain and the companies. So with Seto-san's help, I'm not surprised to hear Hon Hai is getting success into Japanese car business, especially Japanese car business like Nissan. They're having some issues. They need help to reduce costs. So I do look for more success story from Japan. But having said that, in the near term, the EV business does not move the needle. It does take longer time to break into. But the good news for automotive business is that once you are in the supply chain, it's very hard to be changed. different from electronic business. The iPhone supplier, you can change different iPhone suppliers every year. But for car business, it's very different. So I look for this for long-term business for Hon Hai. So I'm quite positive to hear the news. But again, so far does not move the needle. It will take more years to see more success. Same thing with US. I know Hon Hai is doing a lot of success in the US by making components, but it might take some time also to hear big announcement from the US customers' cooperation.